Did the Broncos overachieve in 2025? Was it a perfect storm? A late season purple patch? Or was it the beginning of something even bigger? Because if that was them still figuring it out, then 2026 might be the year the competition realizes they're in trouble. Let's rip into it.
Old Skool Broncos!
G'day legends, welcome back to the Old Skool Broncos Podcast. Today we're zooming out. No match breakdowns, no weekly noise, just one big question. Did the Broncos overachieve in 2025? And if so, what does that actually mean for this season? Because the answer to that question shapes how we should view 2026. Was 2025 the peak, or was it just the ignition? Let's be honest about 2025. The first half of the year wasn't dominant. It was patchy. There were moments where they looked clunky. Moments where combinations weren't clicking. Games where fitness late in halves looked a step off. And that makes sense. It was year one under Michael Maguire. New standards, new systems, new expectations. Madge sides built on defensive brutality and elite conditioning. You don't instill that overnight. There was only one preseason under him going into 2025. One. That's not enough to fully reshape a roster, physically or mentally. It took until halfway through the season for the squad to fully buy in. But once they did, everything changed. Line speed lifted, contact got nastier, kick pressure improved, edges tightened, and then they hit an unbelievable form at the exact right moment in time. That's the key. Finals footy isn't about who looks best in May, it's about who's peaking in September. And Brisbane peaked. So did they overachieve, or did they just align at the right moment? Let's bring in a comparison. In 2018, the Sydney Roosters signed Cooper Cronk. Massive move, huge expectation. But most of that season, they weren't fluid. Cronk was adjusting, the spine was learning, combinations weren't seamless. They took time to gel. Then finals arrived, and they clicked. They won the competition, arguably a year earlier than people expected. And what happened the next season? They were even better. More composed, more ruthless, more confident. Time together turned talent into control. That's the pattern elite teams follow. The Broncos in 2025 felt similar, still learning under a demanding coach, but when it mattered, they arrived. Now here's the real example. The Penrith Panthers. 2020, they make the grand final. Young, electric, but they fumbled it, lose the big one. 2021, they're not as flashy, not as dominant week to week. They even lose their first finals match, but they've been there before. They know they belong, they steady, they win the competition. Now 2022, different beast entirely. Belief turned into authority. They rolled teams, controlled games, handled pressure. They were operating at another level. Then 2023, they're in another grand final. Brisbane races out to a big lead midway through the second half. Most teams would panic. The Panthers didn't, because belief is armor. They knew they were still in it. They came back and they won the game. And then they won again the following season. The belief gained in 2021 set up everything that followed. They were almost unbeatable. Not because they were flawless, because they were unshakable. Now let's zoom out on Brisbane. 2023, heartbreak in the grand final. 2024, regression, inconsistency, emotional hangover. 2025, breakthrough under a new coach. That's a rollercoaster. Young teams don't rise in straight lines. They surge, they stumble, they mature. In 2025, they didn't look perfect all year, but they hardened. And once they broke through, the monkey was off the back. They know how to win now. And that's massive. The difference between chasing a premiership and defending one is psychological. Once you've done it, panic reduces. Momentum swings don't scare you. You don't tighten up with a lead. That's the shift Penrith made. That's what Brisbane may have unlocked. Now factor in reality. Another preseason under Maguire. Another full conditioning block. Another year of combinations, standards that are now normal, not new. That matters. If 2025 was achieved while still adapting to a new system, then 2026 should be more stable, more controlled, more complete. Now add the emotional fuel. Adam Reynolds retiring at season's end. That's your leader, your organiser. There's urgency in that. And then Payne Haas moving on. That creates edge. Windows don't stay open forever. Elite teams often rally around departure seasons. It sharpens focus, it compresses distractions. So here's the honest take. Maybe they won it slightly ahead of schedule, but that doesn't mean they peaked. Look at the Roosters, look at the Panthers. The first title builds belief, the second title builds dominance. If 2025 was Brisbane's belief moment, then 2026 is about consolidation, about authority, about not hoping to win, but expecting to. That's the shift that separates contenders from eras. So I'll leave you with this. Did the Broncos overachieve in 2025? Or did they simply arrive early? Because if that squad now carries genuine belief, if another preseason sharpens the physical edge, if the emotional drivers tighten the focus, then 2026 isn't about defending, it's about establishing. And history tells us once belief settles into a talented squad with strong systems, they become very hard to beat. This has been the Old Skool Broncos podcast. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and make sure you let your Broncos mates know. Let's go, Broncos.